Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News, and as potentially expected, big roster changes going down around the world, especially in the Americas side. It seems like Leviatan, G2 of course, and we already saw Cloud9 making changes as it stands. Rumours started to emerge yesterday and the day before about Lev potentially making a change. Now we're seeing G2 almost certainly making a move based on what we saw on Net's stream last night. What is going on here? Lots of talk in the offseason. These teams were going to be loyal, they were going to stick it out. They've largely played a couple of games and already big changes seem to be on the horizon. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Here we have, by the way, plenty of the Pacific teams getting out there for Masters Madrid. Obviously, this is Sentinels from the Americas, and we have the boys of Loud right here that made it, of course. And then Gen.G, surprisingly enough, the champions of the Pacific region. And of course, these teams are going to be making moves. I'm not expecting, after Masters Madrid, really any of these teams to make changes either, because when you're top 2 in region, wherever you place internationally, there's a feeling these teams are going to want to stick it out. However, if you're not top 2 in region, you probably want to make a move, or at least you want to consider whether a move could potentially improve your team, as other teams are currently doing. This I thought was pretty wild as well, thanks to a few of you guys pointing this out to me actually. Then in the latest Sidemen video, we can see in the background here of this coffee shop that, well, the Valorant is on screen. Now, I'm pretty sure this was Slicky's stream actually, which is pretty wild to see, so kind of a crazy crossover going on there. We also get this though from Zekon, so here he is, the main man. Quality outfit here, Tint is rocking with as well. You can see on his shirt here that he's got while he's laid down for a nap during the scrims, and obviously Zelsis, as always, in the replies absolutely straight away. There was also this from Sentinels. Bad news, guys. He doesn't know how to say buy the send bundle in Spanish, but bang, he drops it in the replies. I honestly can't believe, like, this guy, he's been on a plane, he's been out there. I wonder if he bought the plane Wi-Fi on the flight just to keep dropping the Sentinels buy the bundle tweets, because, you know, obviously, he's employee of the month now, Zelsis for sure. He needs to try and maintain that title. Like, who else is going to take him over? There's also been other attempts, to be fair. Fnatic have tried to, like, jump on the bandwagon as well. We see this, I thought, was pretty interesting as well from Mindfreak, right, who is going to be in his 8th ever international appearance. So, you know, he tends to always be there. Paperx, of course, are back at it again, and as Sposa says, you know, great stuff. We should celebrate by doing the following. So this is kind of what he's been going around with. I think it's good to see. Good marketing really from all parties. We did, however, also have in the Americas side, North American side, the Game Changers Series 1 finale yesterday, and as Floor said, final today, would you lose? No, I'd win. Now, if you guys have seen this meme going around over the last couple of weeks, the theory goes that if you tweet this out before a series, you're going to end up losing. And, you know, as even Mel says, God have mercy on her, she doesn't know what she's doing here. But in the end, it didn't really matter anyway. Honestly, like, who is surprised? Floor dominated the series. It's like, it's so obvious what's going to happen here in the game to decide it's almost not even worth covering it, because it was 13-4. Okay, to be fair, the Sunset was interesting. The Icebox was 13-10. But it's dominant. You know what's going to happen with SR. It's just interesting that they completely dominate the Game Changers side in the Americas, but when it came to trying to qualify through to challenges, they didn't make it as far as they wanted to. They were a couple of series away from doing it. I don't think they played their best Valorant, but there's still work to be done, right? Because, you know, they can run around, they can dominate this series, they can, you know, get the championship money and all this stuff. But the question is really going to be, when is a team like this going to be ready to try and get to challenges and compete on that level? Or will the players in question decide to, you know what, maybe it's for the best for our careers to split up and join co-ed teams like, for example, Bob has done, that then, of course, qualified through to challenges, as we saw not that long ago. But yeah, congrats to SR. As always, they've taken the victory, formerly version 1, right? But of course, now they've been SR for quite some time. And as Floor says, 3-0 FlyQuest, you know, to be fair, games 2 and 3 were close games. But it does feel like rather a foregone conclusion at times, and yeah, nah, I'd win here in the replies. However, we've got to talk about roster changes, certainly in the Americas side. We saw briefly after the major, look, Bleeder making changes, we've seen that happening. But to be fair, those are teams that got slammed out. Teams that didn't get slammed out are in kind of an interesting position, because let's say you're in the Americas. Your region is stacked beyond belief, there's no doubt about it. Some of these teams will be confident in their progress, and some teams maybe should be. Other teams will think, you know what, we haven't done enough to prove that we're really capable of making the steps required, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of talent going around, but there's only so much talent maybe that can go around. And these teams have to figure out, okay, can we get in better talented players, or do we have to focus on building up teamwork and chemistry and using that side of things? Because Cloud9, for example, they have some good pieces. Like, I really like Oxy as a player. I think he is very talented. We've seen them confirm that Whippy is gone from the team as well. The theory is that Jake is going to be gone as well, that Rooney and Moose are going to come into that Cloud9 team. Not currently confirmed, but that's the current theory. But then we got this from Noyan. So just the other day, Noyan mentioned in a video that he did on Twitter, x.com, whatever you want to call it, and it was just an audio thing, but apparently he said in the video that Lev are considering making a change for Tex, is how it stands. Then Noyan kind of dropped the eyes emoji yesterday, which implies there has been further developments here. So, as I say, if you're in the Americas, Sen and Loud are the top two teams. They are the teams that have gone off to Masters Madrid. If you were in their group, that's pretty tough, right? Like, if you're 100T, the teams you lost to, I think 100T have to recognize, okay, probably worth giving it more time. But if you weren't in that group, the absolute group of death as it was in the Americas, then you're probably thinking, all right, we're not really where we need to be. Changes might be necessary into the near future. At the same time, though, some of these teams have only played 2 matches. Like, 2 best-of-3 LAN matches all year is probably not enough to really get the picture you want, right? But unfortunately, this is the way that it works, and the way that the league is structured, when the matches start up in April, you kind of got to get locked in to some degree at that point. So if you are going to make a move, now is probably the time that you're going to be wanting to make some changes. And the same applies, it seems, to G2. So this is last night from Net's stream. So G2 Net, or potentially former G2 Net, I think people were also noticing during the stream that he did not have the G2 skin, like he wasn't having the bundle, like the G2 bundle on his classic. So that was worthy of note. But also, during his stream, we saw the following, which is G2 scrimming without him. He was playing ranked with Marved, and at the same time, we had Josh Ortiz, of course, their coach, we had Leaf, we had Jonah P, we had Trenton Valin, all in a lobby, and, obviously in scrims, there's no Net in the lobby. So people were like, okay, what is going on here? This is just a screenshot to show that, yeah, this is from Net stream last night, and on the right-hand side, we see exactly what we just saw. Also worthy of note that Thief is, they're screwing the YFP guys in this one. Thief is on these guys' teams. That's interesting. Also, I think we also saw Toronto Tokyo later on here, which we believe is Whippy, not playing in this scrim. So there's been some rumours as to exactly who's going to come in to fill that particular spot, but also where Whippy could go next, and what's happening with Net, and what's happening elsewhere as well, because this is the Leviatan team. They were looking really good. They won the Superdome, of course, but maybe Furia ain't so good, and Cloud9 not so good. So I guess we'll see. Of course, they got past 100T in a 2-1 fashion. They then lost close series, for short, to Loud and Sentinels. But for Lev, you've also got NRG, very good team as well. Those are the teams that got through to the playoffs. But if Lev don't feel like their current iteration is good enough to be the best in the Americas, they might need to consider further moves. We know that before Christmas, around about Christmas, there was all that drama with regard to Nosro, right? He was gone, then he was, Com, of course, came in, and there was all this drama that apparently some of the players wanted him to stay, some of them didn't, the coaching staff wanted him gone, the players disagreed, Aspas came out and said that, I think even King mentioned that they're not happy with the way things really were handled behind the scenes, so it felt like from an internal perspective, there was drama at Lev, and maybe it's only a matter of time until some of that internal drama comes out to the surface, especially when you've got so many players from so many different countries and backgrounds and everything. To get a culture locked down of the team is a bit of a challenge. What we did, however, see is that Tex, so this player, of course, formerly on G2 last season, or the guard that became G2, they won Ascension, as we can see right here. Net and Tex both had great series, and the feeling was that the guard would go into the new season with the same roster, right? That was how it seemed to be. But that's not how it worked out. They end up joining G2, but kind of difficult to explain in some ways. But Tex was gone from the team, which was, to me, kind of surprising. They brought Leaf in, and I think Leaf's okay, but I don't know. Leaf's an interesting player to me. I think he gets, good credit for understandable reasons. I'll just search up the guards here so we can discuss those guys as well. Or G2 Esports, actually, is probably the better way to look at it, because, of course, Leaf's been on this team now for a little bit of time. They didn't get the result that they really wanted. That loss to MIBR, that 2-1, which kicked them out of the playoffs. It was Valiant that had a hard time here, but yeah, this team, they made that change after last year, and obviously all talk about that loyalty, and these guys coming up through Ascension, winning the Challenger side, going to make it through, see how we can do in the Americas when they get to the Franchise League. But they bring in Leaf for Tex. Tex is now over at Leviatan, of course, and now it seems like Net is going to be gone as well, and they're going to bring somebody else into their roster instead, based on what we saw last night. And at the same time this is happening, I know that Hardy pointed this out to me. I don't know what you guys think about this, but interesting to note, of course, that Tex on his Twitter, he actually liked this tweet that said, getting treated differently by friends predicated on career success is probably the worst part of this industry. I can count on one hand the amount of people that were authentic to this point. So interesting timing. Just because there are rumours the other day that Tex might be gone from Lev, we then get that happening. We then at the same time have G2 making a move. I think Net is I actually really think Net's a solid player. So I would be surprised if G2 were to get rid of him. But at the same time, I guess I can see why they might feel like they need a change. Because with how stacked the Americas is, if you can't get to top 4, top 5, top 6 in the region, that's not where these teams want to be. And I can understand the feeling to try and make a change. But I guess it really depends on what's happening behind the scenes in practice. I think Net has arguably been their third best player for a long time. Maybe there's a world in which Tex goes back to G2 and something else happens at Lev. They make another move. It's pretty chaotic, I would say, behind the scenes right now, I'm sure. And the lack of matches I don't think necessarily helps, because these teams have to decide whether they're better than they look or whether they're going to need significant changes to actually get somewhat better. Just to quickly mention from Riot Jacob as well, Jakeson, of course, over on the VCT Pacific side. We know that there was so much drama when the VCT Pacific first kicked off over the quality of the production. It was an absolute shambles, day one of the tournament, right? So many delays. I mean, I don't want to relive that because the fans, it was an absolute disaster. The feeling was, okay, let's just make sure that going forward, we don't do this again. They could have just hired the Africa TV guys maybe to do it, I don't know, because they did a killer job at that event in the off-season. But instead, Riot have decided to actually host their own venue, right? So instead of renting out another venue, they're going to have their own venue going forward for the VCT Pacific in Seoul, which means that hopefully, well, maybe it's going to be in Seoul, I don't know, I guess we'll see. It probably is still going to be in Korea, maybe time will tell. But this should be a good thing. It should increase the quality of the production over there going forward and make everything slightly more consistent. But just to close out with, before we finish the video, I wanted to share this actually that Will might have put together. I thought it was crazy, really. These are the clout stats. So this is totaling teams' followers from Masters Madrid over Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Weibo, Bilibili, and Douyin. I'm not so familiar with this platform. I'm guessing it's a Chinese platform. Now, Loud, by the numbers, has more followers than every other team combined. You're going to think, why are Sentinels here fifth? But, they don't have quite the presence on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. Loud have 11 million Insta followers, something like this. It's actually pretty absurd how massive they are as an organization. Edward Gaming, by the numbers as well, are in second place. FPX are in third place. Heretics are actually fourth here. Then Sentinels. Then there's a bit of a drop-off further down, right, technically across all these platforms. So it doesn't really tell the full picture. There's some adjustment to be done in terms of, how big these teams really are, but just worthy of note that Loud, by their total followers, are a bigger organization than every other org combined in the Masters Madrid. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.